Hello, thank you for joining us today. With us is Sally Roberts, the head of customer at Legatics. How are you doing today?
I'm good, thank you. Thank you for inviting me to join you.
Yeah, thank you so much for taking the time to chat with us. Well, why don't we dive right into it? Why don't you tell us a little bit about you, who you are, how you got to your path, and what got you to being a CX leader?
No problem. A little bit about me. A long time ago, I started life studying to be a lawyer. I went to law school, and then along that journey, decided perhaps it wasn't the right route for me. But ended up going to start my career as a legal editor, working for a publishing company, but all online, so online legal products. And gradually worked through that environment to be producing legal products for law firms to use, but very much on the content side of the business. From there, I kind of moved back into more like a pure legal work to the extent I went to work for a few law firms, and I ended up working in knowledge management roles. So heading up sort of online management teams there, looking at intranets, knowledge systems, knowledge search, that kind of thing. From there, I moved on and actually started doing consultancy for law firms. So
Mm.
very much trying to bridge the gap between how law firms use technology and actually how the law firms and the lawyers were working. And as part of that role, would often find myself advising on sort of knowledge management strategy, business process efficiency, and generally trying to, see how technology can actually improve the way that lawyers were working. And that's kind of led to where I've ended up now. I'm now at Legatics. We are a startup scale up legal tech organization, and we're a product which specializes in transaction management as a platform. We are predominantly used by lawyers and law firms. About 95% of our customer base are law firms, but we do also have some customers who are corporate departments as well. I've never moved away from law as my sort of sector that I work in, but certainly have like moved around and kind of changed my specialism throughout the course of my career.
Yeah, and I'm sure that that legal background of yours really helped out in those roles, right? It probably helped you get those jobs. You knew so much about what they do already. So you've been lead in the head of customer there for a while now. What advice would you give to somebody the first 100 days where they're leading a customer experience department?
Yeah, sure. I think it's actually about being pretty selfish with your time. I just remember when I joined about everyone really wanting a bit of you and a part of you and to get involved in everything from day one. And that can be really overwhelming. For me, it was actually, and I wish I probably learned a bit more about this at the start, but actually just making sure you have that time in your diary for you to absorb because you're getting so much information in those first 100 days, and you actually need to be able to take that step back and actually think about how you're going to action it and either implement change or improve upon it. So I think just sort of being really mindful of your own time, at the same time as obviously wanting to engage and get to know the business. um, the first couple of things that I did as well was really looking at like where the business was and any quick wins we could make in the team. There'd been quite a bit of change in the teams that I took on. So we were able to identify a couple of projects that had been sat for a little while and just needed someone really to kind of give the green light to go ahead. So we did a couple of things such as helping the team to implement out of hours support with a third party. That was something that a lot of thinking had been done around, but we hadn't actually got it into practice. um, also identified the fact that our onboarding process was a little bit manual, a little bit back and forth. So we did some streamlining of that. So not huge strategic objectives,
Nice.
but actually things that helped along the way. Um, and then also for us as well, it was about thinking, where are the customers? What can I learn from our customers? So where can I actually grow upon the existing relationships I have? So I already knew quite a lot of these customers. I already worked with quite a lot of them before. So it was about looking at the customer base, re-engaging, trying to improve or kind of grow some of those relationships, but also looking at where we had any risk as well and trying to kind of get some things back on track. I think importantly, it was actually just making sure you would take a step back every now and again and not just get too involved in the day-to-day BAU from day one, which is actually quite hard to do when you get drawn into things.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, it sounds like you had a lot on your plate the first 100 days. What is your CX strategy currently focus on?
So we are very much sort of on adoption. We're sort of trying to grow the platform. We're in growth mode as a company, and we're really very much focused on our users. And actually, for us, that is our lawyers. So the product was designed for lawyers by lawyers, so everything we do is very much lawyer centric, thinking about the processes that they use and how they might be slightly different to other types of organisations. So we've often spent a lot of time focusing on how we can engage with some of our stakeholders who might be information security teams, they might be innovation managers or tech teams. But actually, we need to make sure we are focusing entirely really on those end users, and they're the people that we need to use the platform. And ultimately, the people who are going to grow the product for us in terms of usage.
And how do you measure the success of your strategy?
So for us, we have obviously a number of different indicators as most organisations do. For us, the way that we run the platform is actually based on the number of matters that people run within the platform. So when I talk about a matter, I mean a legal matter, a case or a deal that's run within the platform. And that could be run by one particular firm as our customer, and then they go about inviting the other side, the other legal teams involved, their clients, advisors, any of the third parties. So it's an area where they all come and collaborate. So our leading indicator is how many masses are people running through the platform. So how much usage are they getting out of it, and how much value are they seeing from their subscription? But we
Yeah,
also
that makes
know
a ton of sense.
yeah, but we also know we need to look a lot wider than that. That is obviously our leading indicator. So number of users. So our third parties being invited to the platform are seeing the value through their clients as well as their own internal users. But also the fairly standard things like are they referenceable? You know, can we go to these people for a reference? Are they responsive? Are they coming to our events? Are they willing to give us success stories and provide case studies? So this is something that we're sort of find quite challenging at times, and just constantly wanting to get those different kind of indicators. And I think we're at a bit of crunch point in terms of the size of the organisation, because we do quite a lot of things manually, and we're actually thinking about how we need to try and automate some more of these processes to get those measurements easier for us as a team to be able to work around, but also to be able to kind of report upwards. I think we always need more data. I think that's quite common in a lot of organizations.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. What pain points do you have when you're leading your teams?
So in my role, I actually sort of oversee three functions. The way that we have it split at Legatics is we have a customer team which comprises of our account managers. We call them engagement, but essentially they are doing the account management function. Then we have the customer success team, and they are focused on the end users, growing usage of the platform, identifying new use cases, training of users. They're very much focused on the growth of adoption from the user perspective, whereas our account managers are working more directly with stakeholders, and they also manage the commercial side of the relationship. Then we also have support and operations in my function. So essentially, someone has an issue with the platform, they log a support call, all that kind of stuff. And then on the operational side, it's onboarding customers, so setting their environment up, offboarding them. Unfortunately, hopefully not too often. And some of the data kind of like process improvements, reporting that we do within the function as well. So for me, it's quite a challenge to obviously think about splitting my resources across those three teams. But I have a really good team who sit alongside me and work for me. So, I think I've got some really good trusted people there that I can delegate to, which is really important. I think it's important as well that a lot of my role often can take a kind of commercial role. So often getting involved in sort of renewal discussions, trying to make sure everything goes there, and that too much of my time isn't spent there, versus the adoption focus is actually really where we want to be. So I think that for me personally is just making sure that balance is split. In terms of other kind of the pain points, for us a little bit is actually the data challenge. So getting enough data on what our customers are doing, so that we can shape the function around that. So, if we need to change the
Mhm.
way that we're working, we can do that. I think we're quite keen on trying out new initiatives and trying out new techniques, but we want to do that based on data rather than sometimes just a gut feeling of that something might work. I think those are the two sort of pain points that I see at the moment. But also,
Mhm.
I'm really keen to make sure that the team that work with me or for me, are engaged and are enjoying the work. So
For
as a
sure.
team, it's really important for me to make sure we get together and we do have that time and we do have goals for people to work to, and they do feel that there's plenty of opportunity for them.
Yeah, that's really awesome. So you're talking about the data you're missing, and that's one of your pain points. Are we talking about like your retention data? Are you more interested in like customer satisfaction type data? Like, are you asking feedback surveys and getting that type of stuff? Can you dive a little bit deeper into that?
Yeah, sure. It's a bit of a combination. So, we, we're actually doing some work on this, and things will improve for us actually. But we're very interested in actually just understanding more about how people are actually using the platform.
Hmm.
So their journey actually of like through the product. So where did they drop off, or what features are they engaging with? What features are they not
Hmm.
engaging with? And we need to just have some better tracking in there for us to be able to target, for example, how we do our training and which features we should be
Hmm.
focusing on. So that bit, I think, is like talk about data at the moment. That's the bit that we're a bit blind on. So we're doing some work internally to try and improve that, and that will get better over time. Um, and I think from sort of the data around retention, customer satisfaction, we've recently implemented NPS through our support team. So we recently did our
Hmm.
first NPS survey, which went really well. Got great
Good,
results,
good.
but
Those can be
we did
scary.
it as
Yeah,
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 we did it in a
yeah.
fairly a low scale, pretty manual way, just as a bit of a test. And now we've established the process, and we kind of seen that we know the results. We will then start scaling that to be able to have it. That's something that we do. Um, but I
Awesome.
think as the more data points we have, the more we know about our customers, and I think the better service we can give them.
Yeah, that makes a ton of sense. You got a lot going on within your department, but how do you get the C-suite to buy into what you want to do?
Yeah, I think I'm quite lucky in this because our our C-suite, our CEO designed the product, he built the product. He's still there on a day-to-day basis and is very, bought in and hugely passionate about the direction of where we go. So generally, in this role, things that I wanted to do have been, have generally been backed. Adoption is
Awesome.
basically our company, it's part of our company strategy. It's our key strategy goal to grow adoption and to hit figures in terms of the number of masses that we are opening and running through the platform. So I
Mhm.
definitely got the buy-in already there. I think it's more about agreeing the priorities. So sometimes there can be a challenge with the balance between internal and externally focused activities. So sometimes, we might need to do some work to review, how our renewal process works. How are we working the most efficient ways? Could we streamline that? Are we doing everything we need to do in the right time frames? So sometimes there's a bit of a trade-off there between those activities as being sort of too inwardly facing, and there's pressure from the C-suite to maybe be more outwardly facing and make sure we're always
Mhm.
focusing on the customer. So sometimes we've had to just have a bit of a trade-off and balance those activities out to sort of make sure we are working on both sides of the coin. Um,
Mhm.
but generally, I think that in this organization, that buy-in is fairly easy. The other thing that we sometimes found difficult, though, is getting actually the buy-in for when we perhaps we need to do some more technology, or we need to think about how we might scale. And it's just making sure we build those business cases. We're still in a startup mode, so when we need to sort of get a business case together to get some budget to buy some new technology, it's important we're doing things for the right reasons. And we know this from the work of the business that we do. We don't want to just buy tech for tech's sake. So
Yeah.
really just making sure that we always build those business cases correctly to make sure we're investing in technology for the right reasons that might actually help the business and actually push the need on adoption, really.
that kind of leads me into my next question. Do you have a specific example of using customer feedback to improve the company?
So we do feedback in a number of different ways. Within our product, we have, as most products probably will, we have an active sort of feedback mechanism which all goes into our product board, and our product team review this on a daily basis and will respond. And we essentially do a lot of our product feature development based around those feature requests, and we often will have a top 10 of features, and those are things that will generally feed into our roadmap alongside any of the sort of strategic development that we need to be doing. So
I
I
love that. I love
definitely
how you
feel
take
that,
those feature requests and do that. That's a great idea.
yeah,
Like
yeah.
that's such a, it seems so simple, but so many companies don't do that, right? They don't listen, like, and then implement immediately. That's great.
Exactly. I mean, but to manage expectation, we can't always do them immediately. But
Yeah.
they're there, and it's also visible. So it's an open product board that customers can go in and they can actually see which features have been requested. Also,
Awesome.
so we do that, and we are very open in the way when we are planning our features. People can go in and they can see what's in discovery, so they can actually ask to participate in any discovery around those features. And I think that really helps people getting bought in to the features they're going to
Hmm.
use. I think that's actively helped to improve the way in which the product is used, and actually the way in which we can engage with our customers. The other way I think we've done it quite well is we run what I would call sort of roundtables, customer roundtables.
Hmm.
These are often of quite a small kind of format, and they're quite focused on particular size of customer, which have got kind of shared features and shared characteristics. So these will be very much focused on how we can actually grow adoption, how can we get buy-in, how can we get over sort of maybe client resistance to using the platform, or partner resistance from using the platform. So change management around tech adoption are quite common features and topics that we might find ourselves talking about. And they've actually been really good because they've established a little bit of community between some of our users, and they've been able to follow up those conversations after the events that we have hosted.
Oh, that's awesome. I want to go back to the topic where you said that people can, say, "Hey, I want this change request. I would love this add-on," and then you actively allow them to engage within the process and participate. And I don't know if you have this data; it might be a dream, but have you noticed that the people that actively participate in those conversations have provided you with higher NPS scores, or any other, like, do they have more satisfaction than the users that don't participate?
I couldn't give you a stat on that, but I think it's something to definitely look at because we've just done that first NPS, so we'd have to look at that. But I mean, I think you have to be measured with this, because we do find we have some customers who they shout louder than others. So
Yeah.
I think we're very conscious of not just catering to those, and we need to think about the sort of lowest common denominator as well in terms of people who don't really give feedback. But they're still really important users, and sometimes they sort of less engaged because they're not giving that feedback. Um,
Mhm.
but I do find that the feedback that we get, the people who are engaged, people who are giving feedback, people who are attending events, tend to be the people that we can rely on to give good references. They're happy to give quotes, those kind of things. So
Mhm.
I think it's about this sort of community feel that we, if they feel they're bought into it, and they are being listened to, and we are being responsive, then it just helps again with that whole journey of them being a customer with us.
Yeah, absolutely. It sounds like you're doing a great job. Like automatically closing the loop, that's fantastic. This is where we are with your suggestion, and they can just go do it with self-service. So I'm gonna change gears a little bit. This is a chance for you to get on your soapbox. What do you think is the future of customer experience?
Yeah, so I think for me, I think CS functions or business success functions, they're different in different organizations. So I did a similar role in another tech company, where the role was very much solution oriented, to just building out solutions, and I guess quite hands on in terms of the tech. Whereas I've seen it in other roles where it's a lot more commercial role, because you are there really just to kind of renew that customer. You're just managing them as an item on your book of business. So I think I'm really keen for the team that I have, and I think where all these teams should try and go is that they are seen as trusted advisors, that they are those experts that customers can go to. In our organization, and I'm sure in other organizations, there aren't huge product teams, so they can't be on tap to answer these product questions. So our CS team need to be really clued up to be able to answer those questions, and they need to be able to go into meetings and confidently talk about the product and explain the product and explain the benefits of the product as well, and the why around they should be using it, not just kind of how a feature works. So I think that's something important to make sure that's how they're seen. I know when I joined this role, we had a big look at how the team were doing training, because they were doing good training and they were sort of rolling out training to customers, but it was very one way, quite one dimensional. It wasn't collaborative. So in terms of providing that customer experience, it is like having that relationship and being seen as that advisor rather than just a vendor. And that's where I think that, we need to go. And do you feel that, a lot of it does need to be more data driven? I'm sure just not in my organization, for us to be able to scale the activities. So as much as we want to do white glove treatment and high touch with a lot of customers, it's just not possible. And we're still growing. So I think it's about getting those foundations in place to let you scale up. And I think having the data aligned and some good process in place is the only way you can do that. Otherwise, just relying on sort of manual work a lot of the time. And like final thing I would say is, I guess, that I think our CS teams and our account management teams is we really need to be thinking about having relationships at a more senior level within some of our customers. So in terms of us, how we grow the adoption of our product, we have some great relationships and we know those product owners really, really well. But actually, in terms of when we want to expand and see like global usage of our product within potentially a global law firm, we need to be moving up and around the businesses. So making sure we expand our relationships. And I think we need to be able to influence that at a more senior level to do that. And that's part of my role. So I still will go into meetings with customers and support quite often. Day to day, I leave it to the engagement managers and the CS team to kind of go in and have those conversations. But I think it's really important that in a leadership role as well, you are still visible and that you're going into those conversations and giving people your time as well.
I couldn't agree more. So this is a great conversation. What else should we know about you, and how can we follow your career?
Well, a little bit about me. So obviously I'm based in the UK. I'm actually based in Manchester in the north of the UK, but used to live in London for a long time, which is where I sort of started my career. But I'm up and down on the train to the office. The office is in London, so I'm back into regularly to kind of spend time with the team and see friends and just generally have some London time. So that's kind of like what I do. Well, can I tell you, you can keep in touch with me on LinkedIn. I'm fairly active on there. I like to kind of keep in touch with people and use it to kind of grow my network. So always will welcome kind of conversations on there. And I'm really happy to chat with anyone who would like to follow up on any of the comments that I've made today as well. I'm very open to that.
Awesome. Well, that sounds great. Well, thank you so much for sharing some time with us today. I really appreciate it. Have a good afternoon.
Thanks so much. Bye bye.